Hello and welcome to Crusade Now. I'm Michael Lassiter. I'll be your host today. With me is my father, Larry Lassiter.
Good to be here.
And today we're just talking about Halloween since it is October 31st. And most people will be celebrating it today. You'll have people dressing up their kids, going trick-or-treating, celebrating, acknowledging the day in one way or another. I've noticed that with mainstream Christianity, for the most part, the day is accepted. There's not a whole lot of discussion about.
And that's one thing that, we need to examine is
Right.
whether, Halloween in any shape or form can be celebrated in a Christian way or by Christians without offending a holy God.
Right. What does it mean? What is Halloween about?
And where did its roots come from? When something sprouts up like an observance like Halloween, it has roots, and you can trim it and you can decorate it, you can whitewash it a little bit, but if the roots are bad, the tree itself is bad.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed in the paper this year that there are many of the Christian churches that are holding what they call fall parties. Mm-hmm. In place of Halloween. I've been told by some that it is an effort to offer an alternative to the celebration of Halloween. Now, from my viewpoint, I consider that nothing more than a mellowing or a milderween.
Just a compromise.
It's a compromise. And we need to understand what Halloween commemorates. Now, my memories of Halloween are much like many people of my age in their 50s, and that is good memories. Memories of dressing up, of going door to door, knocking on the door and saying trick or treat, and then getting a bag full of candy at the end of the day. Now, that was my memories. That's my fond memories. Later on, as a teenager, we would go out and throw eggs at each other, and things like that, but not any serious trouble or anything like that. Maybe a masquerade party. Even as adults, people will have parties at their office, costume parties, Halloween parties. Cities will sponsor haunted houses or certain festivals in honor of Halloween. But that's the key. It's in honor of Halloween. It is to remember something, to commemorate something. And it's interesting that my memories of Halloween is simply what I was taught as a kid. Dress up, go out and get candy. Right. Maybe later on as a teenager, throw rotten eggs or regular eggs at each other, or do a little, throw some toilet tissue over somebody's house or in the yard or the cars or things like that, a little vandalism, not anything major. But I mean, that's my memory. Mm-hmm. And then if you go to Detroit, maybe they set the houses on fire, some of the businesses on fire, they call it Hell Night. Yeah. So, but that's my memories. But, that is in connection with my life. Halloween is much older than Larry Lassiter. Halloween is an ancient festival. So where did it come from? Is it all right for us to even give any honor whatsoever to it, or to even present a compromise like a fall party, you see, in the honor of this festival?
Right. Do we have the authority to validate it?
Well, I think the Bible clearly says that we don't have the authority to design and establish our own festivals. Right. And I personally think that this observance of Halloween originates from King Jeroboam, who was the king of the northern 10 tribes after Israel split into two separate nations after the death of Solomon during the reign of his son Rehoboam. As you can see in the book of 1 Kings chapter 12, the kingdoms split, right. And the northern kingdom seceded from Judah and Benjamin, which became the house of Judah, or commonly known as the Jews, and they elected their own king, a wicked man named King Jeroboam. And the first thing he did was he got rid of the Levitical priest. He, according to, I think it's First Kings chapter 13 maybe, it's somewhere in there, it says that he made priests of the lowest order of the people in his kingdom, the very base, perverted most perverse people. That's who he made priests of the God of Israel. Now, not a pagan God,
Right.
but the God of Israel. And then he knew that the Israelites were commanded to go to Jerusalem to keep the feast 3 times a year. He was concerned that they would go back during the Feast of Tabernacles in the fall, and while they were there, their hearts would turn against him and turn back to the king,
The rightful king. Yeah.
of the lineage of King David, which would be Rehoboam, and that they would kill him.
Right.
So he established 2 holy places, Bethel, where Jacob laid his head on the stone and saw the stairway to heaven, and Peniel, where Jacob wrestled with the angel of the Lord. And he made 2 calves, 2 idolatrous images, to be one of them to be put in each place. Then he told the children of Israel, "It's too much trouble for you to go to Jerusalem to keep the feast, so I have provided these 2 places for you to go." And then he did something else. He went a step farther. He abolished the fall festivals of trumpets, Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Tabernacles, all taking place in about a 3-week period. And he established one, it says, a feast, a festival like unto the Feast of Tabernacles, which is an 8-day festival in the fall. And 30 days later, after than the original festival that the Lord had appointed. Now, we know that the last day is called the last great day, and what it pictures is the resurrection of all who have ever lived. The second resurrection, not the first resurrection, because the first resurrection is those who are dead in Christ. But the second resurrection takes place 1,000 years after the first resurrection, which takes place at the return of Jesus. So when this takes place, of course, all the dead who have ever lived will rise. This is the great and small there in Revelation chapter 20. So I believe that this Halloween is a perversion of that, because originally people were superstitious at this time. They believed at this time, and of course Halloween is about 30 days after the Feast of Tabernacles. And we just got finished with the Feast of Tabernacles, about a month ago.
Right.
So it takes place about 30 days or so later. And so this is when the ancients in the British Isles who were celebrating Halloween, which was Samhain, which was the end of summer, the beginning of winter.
Winter. The end of summer.
Yeah. And so they believed that the spirits of the dead would come up at this time and would walk the earth.
Yeah, they thought that the barrier between the living and the dead was thinned out at the end of summer, and that, they would even have their relatives come up,
And so they would dress up in disguises because of fear. And that's where the dressing up came from. Now we might ask, well, what about trick or treat? Well, the Druid priests, which were the descendants of those priests that Jeroboam had established many hundreds of years earlier. And see, that's another thing maybe we should say, that we believe that the northern tribes of Israel, which went into captivity I'd say it was about 180 years or so after Jeroboam came into power. Then the Assyrians came and took them away as slaves, never to be heard from again. They became known as the lost tribes of Israel.
But just got scattered out.